Welcome back. The growing economic uncertainty many people in South Florida are facing could lead to an increase in homelessness. It remains a complex problem with no easy solutions. Service providers say a lack of affordable housing in our area is making things worse. The federal government disagrees and wants to restrict federal funding to focus on mental health treatment. Ron Book is the chairman of the Homeless Trust. He thinks criminalization is the wrong approach, but he's hopeful as a new face takes over at Miami City Hall.
Let's dive right in between the voters I've spoken to, the elected officials. You've got the new mayor of Miami, you've got new commissioners in Hialeah, Miami Beach, and also the city of Miami. Affordability is the crisis here right now. So many people are struggling to make ends meet with rent, utilities, groceries, you name it. What does that all mean when we look at the overall homelessness picture in our community? It seems almost though as the face of homelessness is changing because you've got people with jobs and children struggling to find a place to live at this point.
Well, all of that, Lauren, all of that is correct. And the Miami-Dade County Homeless Trust, which is obviously the lead agency in Miami-Dade County, and we have been for 35 years in our effort to end homelessness, is obviously not a one-size-fits-all model. And we look at it in the broadest sense of its words of ending homelessness, and all of our providers which fit out underneath us. The community has really empowered us over the last 35 years to lead not just our community and not just our state, but the nation in creating innovative ways, not only to get people off the streets and into shelter and housing, but to make certain that as it relates to what we call rapid rehousing, which oftentimes is about how do you work to avoid somebody becoming homeless, is part of what we do in the continuum. So when we talk about the face of homelessness changing, you couldn't be more correct. 1 in every 4 individuals that is homeless or threatened to be homeless are really in that over 55 senior citizen population. That's painful. It is not only that, we've got the challenges that were created by the passage of House Bill 1365, which we doubled down on our efforts to create more shelter and more housing. We took the challenge as opportunity, and no different than the changes at the federal level in what they believe are the priorities to ending homelessness, which in part is, relates not just to what is affordable or not affordable, but they want to drive a process that's driven by treatment and a process not only on treatment, but truth of the matter is they want accountability. And that is why they are de-emphasizing permanent and moving back towards more of a transitional housing program like we've set up at Mia Casa, where everybody that lives at Mia Casa, which we purchased, an old ALF, we reconditioned it, paid to recondition it. Our tenants live on a month-to-month lease situation. They all sign a lease. They pay their rent, a third of what their income is each month. But that's transitional. You look at what we did down in Cutler Bay when we bought the La Quinta Hotel, now known as Hideaway Bay, permanent supportive housing for senior citizens. Every individual that lives down there signs a lease, agrees to abide by the rules and the regulations. As part of that, we're going to be more aggressive at encouraging the participation in services that otherwise help continue to create stability in their lives. Go ahead.
You mentioned that these seniors are facing, the being unhoused and facing homelessness. And a lot of them, they've lived in their home perhaps for many years, but they can't afford, the upkeep and maintenance and the property taxes and things like that. But there's been this trend, specifically in the state of Florida, touching on that legislation of criminalizing homelessness with the law making street sleeping illegal. But according to the Homeless Trust biannual tally in August, county's homeless population still went up. So do those numbers actually back up the point that criminalizing this is not the answer?
Well, let's take that apart just a second. So first of all, if you look at my city of Miami numbers, I was down. You look at Miami Beach numbers, I was down. Countywide, I was up by just under 2%. So when you look at it, yes, I went up in my summer count slightly. But if you go back and you look at my January over January count, my January 2025 count, and we measure January count over January count, not January count over summer count because of the seasonal shifts in things. At the end of the day, when we're all done, I remain encouraged that we see a light at the end of the tunnel. We're down. We've gone in the 3.5 decades of the trust's existence. We have reduced unhoused homelessness in our community by 90%, and we have been able to sustain that. It doesn't mean that you may not get every 6 months a new count where you're up slightly, but as long as your overall counts are continuing to trend down, as long as you're not, remember, if you look at my January count, my sheltered population was about 2,700. If you look at my August count, my sheltered count was down to a little over 2,500. Some of that relates to 1365. Some of that relates to bringing online more permanent supportive housing units. I don't know if it makes sense to the average listener, but here's what I know. From a business standpoint, we've been able to show our community a great return on investment. Our streets don't look like the streets that Alberto Carvalho is now in California, where when we started, we had a little over 8,000 unhoused. LA had a little over 11,000 unhoused. Tonight in our community, we're under 1,000, while in LA, they're up to 79,000.
And those numbers are countywide?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So narrowing down the focus just a little bit, you mentioned, Miami Beach, City of Miami, new mayor, changes at City Hall. Are you hopeful for the future and what, Mayor-elect Eileen Higgins can do for the homeless situation in the City of Miami?
Eileen Higgins has been an advocate and a champion on behalf of the homeless in our community. Our relationship with our partners at the City of Miami has never been stronger, not in 35 years. Francis Suarez and that city commission led by Commission Chair Christine King has been nothing but fully supportive of what we do. Now that we have Eileen Higgins replacing Francis Suarez, I look at nothing other than a shift of her from the county. She helped us leverage Miami Beach so that they had skin in the game, if you will, by putting money on the table because they don't charge the tax over there. She's been nothing short of a great champion at the county, and we look for her to be a champion at the City of Miami, and we look at continuing to grow our partnership. We are a community that really does care. And Lauren, during the holidays, it's always important to remember about giving. But it's also a point in time where we say thanks. And I want to say thanks to the community for not being what a lot of people call us. We are a caring community that cares about the least, the last, the lost, and the forgotten. The reason we've been declared the national best practice model 6 times under both Republican and Democratic administrations is because we have a model that meets people on the streets and brings them in and brings them into treatment and brings them into programs and brings them into transitional and permanent supportive housing.
Ron, it sounds like you have all the necessary components to tackle this, continuing issue in our community. But last question, is outreach, is spreading the word an issue? Because I'm sure there are families out there who are one emergency, one missed paycheck away from potentially being out on the streets. Can they preemptively seek help in the event that they think they might find themselves homeless soon?
Boy, did you ask the greatest question you could have asked to end the interview. So into the first of the year, we are so excited. We are about to have an opportunity to announce a major national partnership with a group, philanthropic group, that is in the process of identifying 10 communities across the country to focus on what? Rapid rehousing, to focus on what? How do you keep people housed? The very people you started this interview asking about. Those people that are vulnerable, those people that are living paycheck to paycheck, those people that are living on subsistence wages, the things you and I learned in Economics 101, 201, and 301 when we were in college. We're about to announce a partnership at exactly the right time as we are finally getting to see that light at the end of the tunnel and legitimately reach an end to homelessness. Functional zero is what we're going to call it, as Francis Suarez and Daniela Levine Cava have called as mayors, and our chairs of our Board of County Commission and City Commission have. And I'm going to repeat, excited as hell about Eileen Higgins, excited as hell about her picking up the torch and continuing what she did at the county on being a champion of homelessness, and in particular, that growing group of senior citizens that we know is our most vulnerable population of homelessness.
We'll be right back after the break.